Did it start? It probably started. Hello, everyone. Wow, it looks like we have 237 attendees. This is great. I'm so pumped. This is the expert Q&A, Ask the Teams, whatever we call it, for .NET Productivity. I'm Kendra Havens. A few awesome people are on the call trying to help moderate. We have a couple people trying to join still, but yeah, we're going to be all about answering questions, hopefully, and trying to manage all of this crazy Teams live event newness. Okay. Gosh, hopefully you can all see me. Yeah, questions are coming in. Okay. What to expect? We'll introduce ourselves, then we'll just open it up to questions and answers. We have a bunch of demos sort of on the fly that we can show you. I'm thinking of this a lot like booth duty, normally during build IRL. We would give a really big talk. There'd be like several people joining, and then they'd come and find us afterwards and ask us a bunch of questions at the booth. So this is kind of what I'm imagining that is. Okay, just go forward. How to engage? Yeah, I think we're all getting used to using the Teams live events. I see a lot of people have figured out there's a Q&A tab over on the side. You can ask questions, and we will try to deduplicate questions, and we have some awesome moderators who will be forwarding those to us. So please be nice. Oh, and definitely upvote. So we're just going to be completely driven by your upvotes and what questions you ask. Okay, so we are recording it. We don't want you to record this session. They ask us to say that. Shrug. Code of conduct. We're showing this in every session today. Be kind. Okay. Always good advice. Here's what this group in particular will know a lot about. Code fixes and refactorings. All of the Rosslyn goodness are C# and Visual Basic compiler. Navigation and search questions, IntelliSense, lots of testing stuff. We have a dev from the actual testing team, which will be awesome. Code cleanup, tips and tricks, that kind of thing. Okay, this is us. I'm Kendra Havens. I'm a program manager on .NET and Visual Studio. And Mika, why don't you introduce yourself? Maybe I can even put your camera on. Let's see. Yeah, okay, I'll send your camera live. Oh, yeah. You already did. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mika, and I'm a program manager on .NET and Visual Studio. And a lot of you might be wondering what's new, so I'm going to go over all of that as well. And Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself and Bertrand?
We'll push your camera live. Andrew, why don't you start?
All right. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties before. So I'm Andrew Hall. I'm a developer on Rosslyn, mostly working on productivity features, so doing code refactorings and stuff like that.
All right. Bertrand, you ready? You got to unmute yourself.
I'm ready.
All right, I'm pushing you live.
Hey, I'm Bertrand. I also go by VB, and I'm a software dev on the unit testing team. So I work on the team that works with the Test Explorer and code coverage, maybe, yeah, fakes framework and all of that jazz.
We have some exciting fakes news too. I was hoping that would come up in questions organically, but you'll have to ask for us to know now. Okay, I'll push my slides again. So going forward, the #1 question we usually get at booth duty when we have hundreds of people come by are just what's new? So we want to just take maybe 5 or 10 minutes and go through all of the newest things, and then we'll go through each question. We also have a glorious 45-minute on-demand session, and I think we might be able to put the link in the chat. Hopefully links work in the chat that we can share. And that's the sort of pre-constructed. Mika and Cody go through this really cool memory just game, sort of like the memory game that you would normally play, but it's implemented in a Blazor app. It's pretty cool. But Mika, you want to give us a really quick overview?
yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Nope, screen, live. Yeah, okay.
Nice. I can see it.
Awesome. Yeah, so just going over some of the latest features in .NET Productivity Space for Visual Studio 2019. We have the brand new Git window. So we have all this Git functionality in Team Explorer, but we wanted to streamline all of this into its own window and menu option. So I can go ahead and check out into a different branch or create a new branch. I can add a commit message, commit my code, and push it. We also have the option to initialize a Git repo by selecting push to Git service. Pretty sweet stuff. We also have some Solution Explorer updates. So here I can just simply drag and drop a project that I want to reference, and it will add that reference to my CS_proj file. So I no longer have to right click and add a project reference. We also have copy, paste, drag and drop capabilities from File Explorer to the Solution Explorer. So here I can go ahead and drag this file and it will get copied to my source. Pretty sweet. And we also have this file nesting option. So with file nesting, I can see here that this app.razor.cs belongs to my app.razor file. And with file nesting, it makes it pretty clear. So those are all brand new in the Solution Explorer. Moving on to code fixes and refactorings. We have some C# 8 ones. So here I can convert this switch statement to a C# 8 switch expression. And this is pretty interesting. Here I have a ton of XML comments here. So Quick Info now has file support for these XML comments, which is really, really cool. And moving into here, I'm getting a suggestion. So here I have an option to add the C# 8 index operator, which is this over here. This is an indice. This is an index operator. So it's the same thing as saying, this whole line of code. It's just saying the last item of the list. So just more concise, pretty cool. We also have tons of wrapping refactoring. So here, if I want, I can wrap a binary expression. And I can also wrap a really long method call chain, which is pretty awesome. You can also wrap parameters and arguments as well, so tons of wrapping refactorings. We also have this code fix to simplify conditional expression. So here I have a pretty complicated ternary expression, and that just simplified that for me. What else? We have IntelliSense completion. So if I press Control Space in the string literal, I get some completion options along with an explanation as to what each character means. Another really cool one is simplifying a string interpolation. And if any of these also pique your interest, let me know and we can go dive deeper into any of these features. This is to convert to a verbatim string. So tons of new refactorings and code fixes. And we also have a really cool new feature where you can navigate to different repositories that aren't on your local machine, and that's called cross-repo navigation. So pretty cool stuff. So over here, I'll just show you, I can do a find all references, and I can filter. So here I just can see all the references for my loaded solution, but if I want, I can do all sources. And you can see here that these are results that are not a part of my local machine. These are actually grabbing those files from another repository on GitHub. So yeah, pretty cool.
Awesome stuff. So it looks like we have a ton of questions pouring in and a ton of people are voting. Should I read those out? Do any of our moderators want to jump in? I'm just kind of scanning here. I think the top one is the ReSharper query.
Yeah, it does seem to be the top one right now.
All right, I'll go ahead and switch since this is just a talk about it one. Let's see if I can switch to my camera. It's crazy because all four of us have control over the feed. Okay. Okay, what was the exact wording on it? I use ReSharper extension for code quality. Are you planning on bringing this into Visual Studio or making your own set of equivalent experiences? So this has definitely been a top ask for like years, and we actually want to know exactly which features you want us to bring into the default version of Visual Studio with the built-in tools. We have definitely added over, I think I was saying for a while, it was over 100 in 1 year. That number might have changed a bit in the past few months or whatever, because we added some really big things. But yeah, we are going feature by feature and just kind of organizing by what people most request that they feel like should just be in the built-in tools. So we're kind of adding them one by one based on user requests. Next.
All right. One of the next questions is about VS Code and Visual Studio, and it is, quote, what's the long-term version of Visual Studio, or Vision, sorry, versus Visual Studio Code? Seems like VS Code is replacing VS in many workflows. So do you have a good answer? I have, based on like work I do, I know what some of our vision is, but you might have a more holistic answer.
Yeah, I'd be happy to hear yours too. I think that's, it is a really interesting question. VS Code is obviously a lightweight editor, and we are doing more and more work that's kind of making it higher and higher quality over time, especially with things like the code spaces experience. It's really, really helpful for sort of lightweight zero setup development, and people want to have a very good C# experience in that. So I would not say that VS Code is replacing Visual Studio. I'd say it's constantly getting better. But I think there are also a lot of Visual Studio like native tools that we'll want for quite a while, and that won't be ported for quite a while. Andrew, what were you going to say?
I mean, that's basically it. Even so, work we do providing new code refactorings and stuff, we still consider Visual Studio Code for part of that as well. But we want, it's almost like a choose your editor developer experience, right? Like we see the benefits of using VS Code for .NET. And we also see the benefits of using Visual Studio. So if we can pull features into both and stuff like that, we try. And I personally use both side by side. So I kind of like think that's a good editor experience that we can talk about moving forward. Is like VS Code for me is always like I make really quick edits, but Visual Studio is like almost like you can think of it as a full screen editor where it's taking up a lot of my attention and I'm doing less quick things. And it seems to be a little bit better at that right now.
Yeah, I definitely recommend installing them side by side. There's just some tasks that are so much easier to do in like a separate editor instance, even just because it's kind of, it separates your workflows too. It's really nice.
Yeah.
What's next? What do you all want to know?
So there was another question about VS Code, so we can skip that one. I'll address this one quickly. Plans to move VS off .NET Framework and over to .NET Core. It's got a lot of upvotes. That's a maybe. We'll just go with a maybe.
Right. Were we spiking on that? Yeah.
I know people are prototyping on it. I don't know what the official plan is.
I'd say it's another along the same lines with the VS Code. It's a gradual process of updating and moving to our LSP language service protocol and all of our functions. Codespaces has caused sort of an interesting, not like rewrite, but it's an interesting sort of refactoring, I guess, re-architecture of a lot of the services that you know and love. So making sure like Rosslyn can run on all kinds of platforms, including ones that like can't have .NET Framework installed. And you still have a rich experience. So it's definitely .NET Core oriented is the direction of a lot of Visual Studio tools.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into, there's another question about releasing 64-bit Visual Studio. And I think what you're seeing a lot nowadays is we're moving things out of process from Visual Studio. So I don't know what the term, like plan for 64-bit Visual Studio proper is, but you can see 64-bit processes that are spawning off to the side now. So like Rosslyn and everything is running in 64-bit processes now.
Yeah.
So we are making improvements there.
I might be checking our roadmap to see what we have actually talked about and what I can say.
I'm sticking to Rosslyn stuff because I know all that's already open source in there. So I can, that's why I'm sticking to that one.
We've played a lot with the code spaces environments that you're connecting to. If you haven't been onboarded, or sorry, if you haven't heard about code spaces, it is Visual Studio, a lightweight client connected to an Azure environment running in the background. We are capable of making those. Sorry, I'm just talking technically. I'm not talking what our product offering is. Technically, we are capable of making those environments 64-bit and feed back to a lightweight Visual Studio client that might not be, which has been interesting. I'm not sure what we're planning to release or what that means for, what we're going to deliver, but it is. There's exciting possibilities there, so I'd keep an eye on our code spaces updates. I probably should not have gone into that much detail. Now I'm worried. Oh well.
That's okay.
This is what you get with live streams. That's why people like talking.
Here's one I see. Are there plans to bring live unit testing to professional?
Not at this time. I can link you to where we have that in developer community. It is a fairly top voted item. I see there's another one on asking the same thing on code coverage. When will it come in professional? So live unit testing, definitely enterprise only for the immediate future, definitely for the whole 2019 timeframe. Code coverage is interesting. There's already a pretty popular .NET code coverage provider called Coverlet that we don't actually have hooked up to have any tooling in Visual Studio right now. You use it completely through the command line, and it can give you code coverage reports, and it's free and open source. It is static as opposed to dynamic, and using it and it's easier to use with .NET Core. It should technically work for .NET Framework, but I don't think they officially support it. Coverlet might be an interesting look. I wish I could hear people's feedback if they have like follow-up questions. Well. I feel like I should share my screen so that everyone's looking at code and not my face.
Yeah, I'm trying to monitor for if there are follow-up questions that get posted. I think if you're just going to post a follow-up question, just post it as a new question and I'll try to monitor and link them from there.
Neat. What else do we want to ask?
I'm looking through, there's so many questions, so I'm trying to find the best ones to ask.
I think the VB.net one is a vote, so it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of love from the VS team. Why is VB.net being left behind behind the other cool new technologies? I'm actually still surprised to hear that we have .NET Core VB updates in our blogs that I believe Kathleen Dollard wrote. I believe 16.8. Like I hear of active plans happening with the features. Maybe we need to blog about them more or be more excited or show them off in more of our demos. I could probably link Kathleen's blog. If someone asked me this at a booth, I'm just reacting how I would react with like, oh yeah, I heard documentation on that. Let me. Any other questions while I'm looking this up?
For the test render, do you plan to allow adding and removing individual tests from the test session, similar to ReSharper's test runner?
Yeah, you can already do this with playlists. So playlists is sort of our equivalent of ReSharper's sessions. Not too different, but you can add and remove those. We don't automatically add them with every individual test run. We could, that hasn't been a popular request. Right now it's individually adding one individual test to each playlist. And we have some really cool playlist updates. Oh, this is an excuse to share my screen and demo some code. Sorry, I have to like refine the share button. And I'll put the Teams event back up, and then I can actually share my content. Send live. Cool. So speaking of playlists, So playlists can open as their own individual window, which is kind of similar to the sessions UI. So we can actually separate this out from the test explorer now. It's not just like a filter. You can have its own window. There we go, separate. You can dock it separately from the test explorer and everything. And we have some really cool updates. So playlists are now dynamic. So you can click an edit button up here and you can actually edit what tests appear, but you can also edit the like class, namespace or project that this playlist contains, and it will dynamically update. So if I add a new test that happens to be in this class, this playlist will actually show it. So I can actually show another small feature. I did save this playlist on disk, but it's not showing up as a solution item in Visual Studio. Pretty common. So there it is. So I can drag and drop it from the File Explorer, which is kind of cool, into Visual Studio, and it'll actually add it to my .solution file, which is sweet. And now I can double click and open the playlist. You can kind of see, so .playlist files are all like XML. And now we have rules defining them. So before I could just have this as sort of a static, it lists out every single test with a fully qualified name. And this sort of black box filling in this checkbox is what is a partial checkbox. But if I check it so that all of the tests are included, it updates the rule. So it says include any test within these two classes. And you can actually edit this file and make it like traits and other groupings that we have, which is pretty sweet. Hopefully the traits and other stuff will be a bit easier to use in a bit, and you won't have to edit XML. You can actually use UI, but that's a new playlist thing, and it's kind of relevant to the question. Okay. Sorry, so thank you for letting me go on that tangent. We like seeing code, right?
Yeah,
what else? Do you have any
really
other
cool.
questions? Thanks, Mika.
I'm here for you.
And I rely on my fellow presenters and moderators to keep me
Here's
happy.
a cool one. Are there any plans to extend IntelliSense UX notifications to have more options and customizations than the dots or squiggles? So
notifications.
Yeah, so I think like the IntelliSense is the completion list that you get, and then the squiggles and the dots, those are analyzers actually running in the background. So those are code fixes and refactorings for that one.
Question, what? Could you read the question again?
Yeah, are there any plans to extend IntelliSense UX notifications to have more options and customization than the dots or squiggles?
Is that saying you'd want like a I don't know.
I think that has to do with configuring
like stars instead of dots, or
configuring the severity maybe for the options for the different code fixes or refactorings. I'm guessing.
Yeah, you can use multiple severities to, let's see, I can bump that up to like a warning.
Want to show that?
Yeah, to show different levels. But I think the question was also, are we just going to add anything new? And I'd say it's not in the plans. If you...
All right. I don't know who asked the original question, but Josh D said, imagine if you could change the squiggles to sad emojis.
Right.
That's great.
Like very tiny, let me zoom in, like very tiny frown icons of, I don't know, your boss's face or something. I don't think we're planning any customization around that, but again, you can always go to developer community and let us know your feedback and top suggestions. We'll take a look
actually,
at.
That's a good segue. There are a lot of questions about how to provide feedback. So developer community and using the send feedback in the top right all go directly to teams. They get triaged, and then like people on my team or my lead look at it, and we interface with you directly. So that's the best way to just suggest features, report problems, etc.
For sure. It might be a little confusing because we have a lot of open source repositories online, and you can definitely interact with our developer teams on Rosslyn is the repository for the C# tooling and Visual Basic tooling and our compiler that you see all of these code fixes and refactorings coming out of. But often your request, like for example, your UI request, wouldn't go here probably because it'd probably be on one of our closed sourced platform repositories. So if you post it to developer community as like a suggestion or we're filing bugs, we can make sure it routes to the correct repository. So a lot of Meek and I's time is actually spent reading through suggestions for Visual Studio and figuring out where they go and moving them to Rosslyn. If we realize that, that's something we should bring to a design meeting and talk about the team. I'm looking for a VS feedback.
Oh, we have it's marked as developer community label. We have a label.
It's one of our labels. Sorry.
Yeah, and if you provide it on developer community, what it does when we close it and duplicate it here, it provides a link to the bug that we create.
Yeah, there we go. So we transfer it over.
Yep.
Maybe edit it to make it a little bit more markdown friendly.
Yeah, that does happen.
And then it gets a ton of upvotes. So this is another place that you can upvote, and we definitely prioritize based on votes because that's our best indicator of knowing what people are invested in. Neat. Okay, what else is pouring in? I see one with 26. Should I hop on that answer or yeah? Oh, where'd it go?
Yeah, no, they move a lot. People keep upvoting.
Yeah, okay. Oh, so it orders based on, that's so clever, but also difficult. One is there any tooling for VS/VS Code specific to .NET 5? So for that, I'd say yes, in terms of .NET 5 is always the latest language features. So, well, I guess you could have a preview of a language. No, you need C#. You need one of the latest previews of .NET 5 to use like preview language features. So we do always have new tooling. So the latest things there are like nullable reference types, which are pretty sweet. And help with that. And as Mika showed earlier, converting switch statements to switch expressions. It's a new C# 8 feature. And trying to remember what I had written under new language stuff. Simplifying string interpolation is new. Oh yeah, range and index operators of C# 8. You can control that tooling. Sorry, I guess I'm talking about it. I could probably demo it if people want to see.
Yeah.
Another instance of VS.
One thing, there's been a few comments about Visual Basic not getting enough love again. I will say that while we don't explicitly call out a lot of times refactorings that work in Visual Basic and C#, a lot of them, when we develop them, they do work in both, as long as it's applicable to the language.
Right. Sorry, and I was searching for the Visual Basic blog, but then I got distracted by myself, probably. Yeah, a lot of work on the WinForms designer. I'll probably have to tweet that out later. It might take a little bit of digging. I think it was during the summer of 2019 that we were blogging a bit more about it. So still about a year ago, but incremental updates. There it is. So I was just going to go through a little bit of C# 8 newness. Oh, and I meant to mention when we were talking about the .NET 5 post that there is going to be a one .NET journey to one .NET with Scott Hunter at I believe 1:15. What time is it? They ask us to hide our times so that we want to know what's going on.
Now.
Oh, it's 1:15 now. Okay. While Scott Hunter is doing that, I could probably just post a link for anyone who wants to hop off this Q&A and go ask our bosses Scott Hunter questions directly about that. If any of you can find that link, that would be super helpful.
And Kendra, somebody, we got 43 votes to demo any of the most under-marketed features as productivity tips. And like you always show me these, like you're like, yeah. So if you want to also show some of those.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let me do a little bit on my range and index operators. So these are the new, I wish I could see all of your faces so I could get an idea of whether or not you've seen these before yet, but we added new ways to access arrays in C#8, which are super, super cool. You do need to have it enabled, the preview features enabled, and yeah. So this is an index, so this goes from the end of an array, so it is the equivalent of writing this line, and I wanted to show you the tooling, but I'm actually not. Oh, there we go. There we go. So I can actually get a suggestion to use this and see how it's silent right now. If I wanted to have that suggestion be a little bit louder, I could bump that up to a warning, and it might cause an exception, which is fine. So if it did bump up to a warning, I would see a green squiggle. Oh, true. Does it not work? I might have to close and restart Visual Studio. Again, I do have like 3 open. Anyway, but it will find places in your code where you can use simplified syntax and go ahead and suggest that for you. And you can have all of those places actually appear as warnings or even errors if you really want to enforce people using the new syntax. You can customize it as you want. It's really cool. So that's sort of a new C#8 feature that would be associated with the newer project types. That's not like specifically .NET 5, but yeah.
We have another question about, we have like 81 votes for this one. So I use ReSharper extension for code quality. Are you planning on bringing this into Visual Studio or make your own set of equivalent services?
Yeah, I was hoping to kind of answer that with my earlier talk of, yeah, we are incrementally going through and trying to figure out which features you all most want brought into the built-in tools. And let us know what you are missing in your experience, and we can add them. So that's sort of, if you care most about code quality or something, we have tons of analyzers that we've added in the past year that did used to be in ReSharper only, but we got so many requests specifically for those features that we went ahead and added them into the built-in experience. Cool. I haven't done the nullable reference type demo in a while, but here it is. Oh, is this why? Do I have an older version of VS started? Well, it's in preview. Yeah. Anyway. Any questions that we haven't answered yet? I'll just go down the line. Oh, we wanted to, did we link them to Scott Hunter's session for .NET 5?
Oh, no, I can look up a link for that real quick.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Guys keep getting closer and closer to perfection. Why, thank you. The Git integration, although much better in the latest preview, still falls a bit short. Are more Git features in the pipeline? Absolutely. We just released this new Git window, and we're definitely going to keep working on it. I absolutely understand oh, this isn't the new one. Wait, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, sorry. I absolutely understand your sentiment of wanting a bit more features. I do really like that you can finally initialize a Git repository right from Visual Studio. That's really nice. But yeah, really excited about the new Git window. Is there any vision on how to replace SLN file with something similar to Traversal SDK. That would allow teams to have the same MS build target regardless of using Visual Studio or other tooling like VS 2019 does not call restore. I don't know of any plans currently, but if you would like to tweet at me, I would be really happy to add our project system team, so they might be able to give you a more in-depth answer. I don't think we have any plans on changing SLN format, lol, SLN format so far. But yeah, really happy to engage with anyone on Twitter. Oh, my Twitter handle is GotHeap. If you want to tweet me at GotHeap. Better not misspell that. There you go, and I can always follow up with other stuff.
I don't know what you're showing, but I don't see the Twitter handle on the screen.
Oh, I put it in chat.
Oh,
What?
perfect. Yeah, I'm just not paying attention to that.
I can also show my Twitter handle. Twitter.
Yeah, I also put the link to the talk is called The Journey on One.net.
Perfect.
So I put a link in that.
How do I show my contact? GotHeap. There it is. Cool. So what is the plan with ASP.NET Webforms? So I actually think the biggest updates for what kind of cross-platform UI we are going forward with will be in the sort of One.NET journey update. We're definitely trying to establish more of a base class library that's shared across all app types, so mobile, Xamarin, web, and all of that. But if I could also probably hook you up with the ASP.NET Webforms team if you want a more specific answer. Cool.
Here's one. Is there plans to improve CodeLens to load faster or allocate the vertical space quicker?
I
think that has to do with a lot of moving things, to the cloud and getting performance to work faster in those cases.
Yeah. So if you have any slow performance, we definitely encourage you to provide us feedback with report a problem. So a lot of people don't realize that performance slowness they might be experiencing really is only in targeted groups. There are millions of people who use the tool, so CodeLens definitely isn't slow for everyone. But if it is slow for particular solutions or with particular setups, we would love to investigate and figure that out. Yeah. The larger the solution, probably the slower it gets with if it's used when, thousands of places or whatever, the find all references node or the references node in CodeLens can be slower as it goes, but I'd love to hear everyone's follow-up questions to figure out if these answers make sense.
Yeah, it is.
If Visual Studio had a mascot, what would it be? I like this one. Did you know? Yeah. Dotnet Bot, or .NET rather, totally has a mascot. Let me see if I can find that. .NET, I think it was in a swag repo. Yes. I'm just saying, .NET has one. .NET Bot. Oh, this will be an ASCII. We also do, let me go to the repo. There's also t-shirts and coffee mugs and stuff and stickers. Cup of tea, coffee mug, lots of stickers. I'll go ahead and share this repo with the chat. Boom. So Visual Studio had a mascot. I don't know what it would be, but it'd probably be something close to our beloved .NET Bot. Do y'all know the story of the .NET Bot? It's super fun. When we were initially pushing the Rosslyn compiler open source, there was still like millions of lines of code, and no one person really, we're going to push it because that would be sort of a lot to say that one person had made all of that when it was really the work of a huge team. So we created a .NET Bot that was an actual like GitHub account that pushed all of it. That's how the .NET Bot was born. Then we created fun artwork and t-shirts and stuff. Pretty cool. Any more questions?
Will Visual Studio integrate with the Windows terminal?
Yeah, so I believe so. I'm actually wanting to look at what the current options are. So we already do have a built-in PowerShell terminal. It is, so I believe the team that created this is actually very in tune with the work they're doing with the Windows terminal. It is not the exact same thing. I actually thought you might be able to add it in options. Oops, sorry, I should probably do. So I can add a shell location. I'm not sure what you can do here. There's a lot of customizability. Like obviously I can input an exe with the shell location. I haven't tried it with the Windows terminal. I don't know if Andrew, you would have experimented with this setup before.
The short answer is no, but that's mostly because you can think of it as, so the Windows terminal is hosting like different environments to begin with, right? So if you're talking about hosting the Windows terminal in Visual Studio and all of the UI goodness that comes with it, I don't know of any plans. That said, you can use a terminal from Visual Studio, and I still do that, but I definitely do prefer the Windows terminal. It's just sleeker looking.
And you can have cool backgrounds, and it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it right there. I have like nothing customized with it though. Gotta get on Scott Hanselman's level. All right. Any more questions coming up?
I did see one. Let's see. What do you consider the most undermarketed features / productivity tips?
Oh shoot! Sorry, I think Mika said that earlier. And
Okay, I don't remember if that got answered.
No,
I didn't know if you
we
had
didn't
one
answer
readily
it.
available.
Oh yeah. So the favorite one that I have to show people is definitely, well, first, did we talk at all about Control Q, this search bar?
No.
Okay, so we have been leveling this up majorly throughout Visual Studio. So Control Q opens the search, and not only does it index all like menu commands and everything up in tools options, not absolutely everything, but quite a lot. You can open very odd parts of tools options, so you don't have to go all the way and figure out where everything is. You can also now index code. So you see I have a little code tab here, and if I type something like got MGM and went over to, oh, why isn't camel case search? There we go. Oh, I had to be capitalized. So it now also indexes code. So it's a lot like Control T. So you still have the filters of file types and members, which is pretty cool. And it now returns code in addition to all of your other commands, and it indexes git commands. So if I wanted to do like a git commit or something like that, I could actually do that with just hitting Control Q. So I didn't have to launch the terminal or anything. It indexed all of the commands in like a different window inside of Visual Studio. It was pretty cool. Oh, and so the next one I wanted to show off was your keyboard. So there's a ton of keyboard commands, and you might forget what is mapped to what. And what you might have installed that changed any kind of default settings, you can always figure out what keyboard shortcut is connected to what command and actually reassign that command to a different keyboard shortcut from this window. So I went to Control Q, I typed in keyboard, it's in environment keyboard, and this will show you all of the commands that it's possible in Visual Studio to connect keyboard shortcuts to. There's a ton. We did not name them well, and don't search for anything with spaces. The search function is not great, but there are, yeah, so you can look up individual keyboard shortcuts, and down here, it'll show you the shortcut currently used by Format Document. It's Control KD.
Yeah, also Control Q will show some of the shortcuts for you. If you forgot how to like run a test or add a file, those shortcuts will pop up next to those user actions.
So code cleanup, Control KE, pretty cool. One thing that I always miss, it's really fun to point this out, is sync with active document. If you're ever in a document and you're trying to find out where it is located in Solution Explorer, this button will jump the highlight to where it is in the Solution Explorer. That's usually a mind blower.
There's also a setting to have it do that automatically if you prefer.
Yes, and I think if you toggle it, oh yeah, I guess you have to set it, so sync.
Yeah, because that button is just a find the current document. It also has a really awesome shortcut of Control left bracket S.
Good point, yeah. I'm trying to remember where that setting is. Sync with active document, because that just invokes the command. I actually thought you used to be able to toggle this on and off like permanently.
Yeah, I know
remember,
there's a setting for it.
Yeah, we don't always name our settings in a wonderful way. So sometimes what we index isn't quite what you want. Let's see if it's in like environment documents. Display, text, general. So it's not, it's in there.
Track active item in Solution Explorer under Projects and Solutions.
Nice, this guy. Okay, turn that on. And let's go to this. Boom, and it highlights the thing that I have open.
Yeah,
cool.
And it will scroll for you too if it's not visible.
Scrolled. Yay, very cool. Oof. Thanks, Andrew.
I'm just going to chime in and say that the Control Q feature is one of my favorite ones. Coming from Mac, there's a Spotlight feature where you just press Command Space and search anywhere.
Yes.
And Control Q is my go-to. It was so natural.
Yeah, I totally see that. All those years ago, I used a Mac. Yeah, that's very much. And we kind of stole this from VS Code as well. The, what is it? I want to say Command P or, yeah, the terminal that they have. Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of having like a centralized place where you can search for everything, including code and commands and tools options and all this stuff is definitely what we wanted to bring in. Cool. Sorry, I can't believe I steamrolled over the tips and tricks question. I have more, but
there have been a few questions that come up about developing for web, like Blazor or integration with JavaScript and stuff like that. Is there a talk that we can send them to? Because we're more geared towards .NET. So like Blazor, we can cover a little bit, but some of the tooling around just JavaScript in general.
Yeah, I don't have a link off the top of my head. I wasn't searching too much for that. But if one of our moderators can maybe go on a search tour, maybe I could, I don't know.
I
just watch me using the build website. Love how search is so forgiving for typos. It's wonderful.
Andrew, you might know the answer to this. Is there a way to test my API directly in VS and not have to use Postman?
Well, that really depends. So if you're talking about a like published API where you're trying to hit an endpoint, I don't think we have tooling in VS for that. Postman is great for that. But if you're just doing local development and you're wanting to test messages sent to your like local ASP.NET or anything like that, honestly, I use Postman for that too. But a good kind of way around that would be either to just write unit tests, which probably is the best way, or if you're really savvy with it, you could just modify requests in the like debugger. So all you need to do is send a request of any kind, and then you can modify the contents before it gets processed. I'm not as familiar with the ASP.NET pipeline, so I don't know how hard that would be to do, but technically you can just modify memory while you're debugging. So it's always remember you can do that.
Trying to search. We just oh sorry, yeah. Yay! Can I click and see everything in here? Okay. I'm still searching for our sort of web focused.
Yeah, it looks like there is a focus group called TypeScript JavaScript Tooling, but that is full already. So
Yeah.
and it's a focus group, so it's not going to be. Are those published?
They are.
Oh, sweet.
So we made a bunch of really nice pre-recorded sessions. Mika and Cody's is one of these where they go through the full like what's new in productivity, which is a bunch of stuff in like a really nice 45 minutes. I've chatted this link that I'm looking to on channel 9 of these 34 episodes. So these are sort of the really big sessions that we would normally have that maybe 800 people would go to or something. And yeah, so I was just searching for a web one because why not? Labs. There's my friends. Oh gosh, definitely make sure to see Mads Christensen's Modern Visual Studio Experience. It's going to be awesome. He's also great at including some really cool tips and tricks in his. I'll go ahead and post that link in the chat as well. Bookmark it. He also has some really cool code spaces demos using Visual Studio. Not Visual Studio Code, actually Visual Studio, so that'll be pretty cool. Nick Uhlenhout in the modern C++ development with Visual Studio will also have some code spaces, which is really cool. Well, I might have scrolled too fast. Hey, Web UI with Blazor WebAssembly development. Is that what we want? What's new in TypeScript? Well, you can choose. You have the link that will take you to all of these sessions, I guess. There's definitely some web stuff in there to check out. Next question.
All right. Ooh, here's always a good one. So we get a lot of formatting questions. Is there a plan for camel case spell checker in Visual Studio that can check code?
Is this open on Rosslyn? This is ringing a bell.
So we do have already, we have specific rules that you can do with editor config around camel casing and stuff like that. So I would double check on documentation available for that. I don't have a link on hand. I'm currently scrolling through all the build website stuff, but yeah. We do have, as a general backlog thing that we're working on as well. We're working on just a general case, like better way to do formatting, stuff like that. So spell checking is, we don't have a built-in spell checker, I will say, but we do have rules around casing and stuff like that for variable names, method names, etc. already. Those are already implemented.
Yeah. Cool. What else do we got?
There have also been questions about the version roadmap. So did you already post the roadmap link as an announcement?
I did not. Okay, so we have a ton of resources. You can find all of them here. I will make an announcement. to link to. So we do have the Visual Studio roadmap. It's just aka.ms/VS roadmap. Pretty easy to remember. Or type in your browser. And I put it in chat as well. So that will have more details on, I mean, we have general versioning schemes. We do have documentation on what all of the versions and minor and major updates mean.
Yeah, some of them are also like, what will the next version be called? Is there going to be a next version, etc.
Well, .NET 5. Or
well, Visual
do you think
Studio
it's after
too.
that? Oh, a Visual Studio. Oh, yeah, that we really don't know. Is there going to be a Visual Studio 2021?
Yeah.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue. I don't know.
Who knows?
Not sure what we'll call it. Yeah. If you tweet at me, though, I can tweet at, or you can tweet that question at Amanda Silver, our big boss. She will be deciding that for sure.
Is Rust support being considered for Visual Studio? That's a very good question, actually. Do you know?
Rust support. We support so many different languages and frameworks. I don't know if we're actively working on that. I think that'd be another good question to tweet, and I can probably try to CC the people who are involved or might be involved with any of the team there.
Yeah. I do know
Also,
internally to Microsoft, we're definitely starting to use Rust more. So I wouldn't be surprised if we already have stuff that I don't know about.
Oh, are they using the Rust? Looks like there's a Rust extension. Oh, for
yeah,
VS
that's
2017.
For. Oh, is it for VS 2017? Because I know they have one for VS Code as well.
Yeah. This is only for VS 2017. Oh, no, this works with VS 2019. I'll drag this over. I'm searching over on the side to see what we have. I haven't checked it out, but we definitely try to work with partners in the ecosystem and make sure things that we're releasing, aren't already there and have good support and everything. Looks like you can also check out their repo on GitHub. Yeah, pretty cool. 100 stars. Check it out. What else do we got?
There was a response on the user said there's too many questions and not a lot of interaction possible. I kind of agree.
Yeah, there is there's a survey afterwards, right, about builds?
There is. What time is it? Should we move to the resources slide? Oh yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We got 2 minutes, so it's a good
Perfect. Perfect timing. Okay, so we have resources slide. This is like a lot of links. Oh shoot, sorry. And I think I even cut one off of the bottom because my Windows tray for some reason isn't minimizing, even though I'm in. Anyway, oh, there it is. Okay. Yes, so you can fill out an evaluation. Thank you for coming with us on this journey. I hope we answered a lot of your questions. If we didn't get into any, please feel free to reach out on Twitter and I can get back to you, or find the people who can get back to you. Build is usually an awesome place where we can get a lot of interaction and actually get an understanding of what you really want to know about and everything. So I'm missing it too. We're all, at home and trying to do the best we can. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for your questions.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, I guess I'll just leave up the screen for a while, and I guess that's our sign off, and we can mute ourselves and just kind of hang out and watch chat. Thank you all for joining.